Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. As Ruth said, my name is Padraig Griffin. I am the CIO, CISO with EVAD Technology Group. I suppose my role in the organisation is to work externally with our partners. And what we do is we align technology to the business goals and business objectives with a particular focus around cybersecurity. Cybersecurity, again, becomes, I suppose, that no-no word in relation to people start to get under pressure, understanding what that means, where the risks are coming from. And again, it becomes this big thing that businesses really struggle to try and navigate. So I'm delighted today to be hosting and moderating a panel discussion with some industry leaders in this space. So I'd just like to introduce firstly Jan Carroll. Jan is a course creator, lecturer and managing director of the Fortify Institute and works with the UCD Professional Academy delivering cybersecurity courses. I can tell you she's brilliant because she trained me, for what it's worth. I'd also like to introduce our second panelist, Tristan Badeup. He is the Channel Director for UK and Ireland for SonicWall. SonicWall being a leading technology vendor in the cybersecurity space, from on-premise appliances to web application and virtual appliances. Most businesses in Ireland would be familiar with the name SonicWall as a industry-leading cybersecurity technology vendor. So delighted to have Tristan here. The bravest person on the panel, by a mile, is Kevin Brady from Phelan Cantwell Insurance. One of the big issues for an awful lot of businesses these days is cybersecurity insurance. How do I get it? How much is it going to cost me? How do I get through the audit phase? I don't understand the questions. And then also, when you do have it and you look at the renewal, you feel like a young driver who's had 2 crashes in 12 months. So welcome, Kevin. Delighted again, lastly but not leastly, Les O'Reilly from HP. Led as the managed services lead for HP. And again, it's tried to demystify the myths of where print has kind of evolved into, and to try get away from that print and managed print and documentation is purely just around an actual appliance and how that industry is transformed and how data is transformed and how the security around your data, which is essentially your business, has transformed over the last number of years. So again, delighted to have you all on board. Jan, we're going to start with you.
Thanks, Padraig.
No problems at all. So, Jan, as a leading cybersecurity expert and an accomplished educator, I think the big thing for me is, again, cybersecurity becomes a buzzword like cloud in recent times, right? So, what is a cyber attack? Where does it come from? And who's behind it?
Yeah, really good questions. And you're all very welcome, and I'm delighted to be here today. But a cyber attack is when a criminal, because it is a criminal, attempts to infiltrate an organization's computer systems using their IT skills and their technology resources. Okay? And it's carried out in cyberspace, which is tricky for us to defend and it's tricky to police. But who is carrying it out is there's a number of different attackers out there, and we're looking at the likes of the cybercrime gangs. And their motivation is money. Then we're looking at the likes of the different nation states, and they're doing it for geopolitical reasons, but also they're doing it for money as well. The likes of North Korea, they're doing attacks to generate funds as well. And then we have the likes of the script kiddies and the hacktivists and even insiders that are out there carrying out attacks. And what they're trying to do is to alter, erase, steal your data. Okay, our data is like cash now. And they also are attempting to take down our networks, take down our applications, and take down our websites as well. Okay, so we need to prepare for these events. And it's not always cyber attacks that we need to prepare for. There's other events that can impact your network. And we saw what happened with Aer Lingus last week, and that seemed to be from one of their service providers.
We're not allowed to mention that, Jan.
Okay. Well, what I heard on Twitter, one of their service providers had a single point of failure. And that just throws up all of this again. How do we put measures in place to protect our organization, protect our business, and especially for SMEs? It's just so critical that we are able to put controls in place, that means we can keep doing business and we can keep earning money.
Super. No, thank you very much, Dan. And I think one of the things just to kind of, I suppose, get into is the cybersecurity. Again, it's the big buzzword, but it's coming from multiple different avenues. It's coming from multiple different kind of areas, geographical locations, and it's not just a case of where we're being hacked. There's an awful lot of user mistakes. We hear about phishing campaigns, people clicking on emails, putting in their credentials, and again, businesses have always, and I believe this, that the most valuable asset in a business is your people. But the most valuable asset in your business for cybersecurity criminals is your data. And they use your people to access your data. So education and awareness is key. As an educator who specializes in the cybersecurity space, again, just from an education point of view, like your views on education for SMEs?
Yeah, that's such a huge part of this, okay? And again, for SMEs, it's the one thing that you can start today to improve is the awareness of your teams and getting the information, okay? The two main avenues that attackers will use is phishing campaigns, okay, where they send those emails. And if you have instilled a proper security culture in your organization, well, then everybody knows that they're responsible for your organization's security, not just the IT team. And the other avenue is through insecure access. So, your credentials, your logon, your passwords. So you make sure that that's all as secure as it needs to be. Absolutely make sure you're using MFA, 2FA multi-factor authentication. I know it's a pain, but it really will help secure your organization. And then the third thing is your updates. You're patching your updates. Again, it's one of these annoying things where the little pop-up says update now, and you might have to restart your machine. Do it. Absolutely do it. Okay. There's loads of areas of places where you can get. When I speak to SMEs, what they always ask me is, where do I start?
Yes.
And what I would say is go to the National Cybersecurity Centre. We have a National Cybersecurity Centre, and you get excellent resources there. There is one publication they have out, and it's called the Cyber Vitals Checklist, and it's a checklist of like 14 items. And if you can implement those, number one, it shows where your gaps are, and then it also shows you what you need to prioritize. Okay, and then there's also lots of other information there as well. Yeah.
No, super,
That's
Jen.
a great starting point.
No, absolutely. And I think when we look at the likes of where to start and what things business can take, one of the things that comes in from a cybersecurity mitigation point of view is, it's this: how much is it going to cost me? Again, a couple of insights. You mentioned MFA. So a couple of things. Most businesses use Office 365. Within Office 365, there's an awful lot of native tools that people aren't aware of that you can actually use to protect yourselves, right, from phishing campaigns and information like that. One of them is geofencing. Office 365, by its nature, is something that can be accessible anywhere at any time. What you're doing is leaving a door open for people to actually come and try and basically, attack your organization. So within the actual tenancy, you're actually able to geofence and make sure that the users that access your tenancy are only from the country or origin that you want. So if you're an SME that's predominantly working in Ireland, your staff work in Ireland, you can lock your tenancy down that only people within Ireland from an Ireland ISP or IP address can access your tenancy. That significantly reduces your risk of cyber threats on that Office 365 platform. Simple things like disabling forwarding rules, disabling old technologies that are turned on by default. So IMAP POP mail is on by default. Turn it off. SMTP is only going to be used for the likes of print. If it, turn it off for anyone that doesn't need, or any printers that don't need it. So I think the big thing for us is around education as well. So there's a couple of tips there that will, straight away implement them. Get onto, again, your technology service provider, get them to do it for you. We do it as default for all of our clients. It's definitely something that should be done. So if you take that away from this conversation at this moment in time, it's just geofence and turn off any legacy technologies that are natively turned on. Massively increase, I suppose, your cyber risk mitigation. Jan, just the last one for yourself is founding director of the Fortify Institute, which is all around business training and training of resources. Just a little bit in relation to how you and your organisation come in and work with resources to educate their team.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what we found now is with people working from home, there isn't the the big division that there was between home and work before. So we sort of concentrate on educating people to be cyber-aware citizens and not just cyber-aware workers.
Yes.
Because if we're using the same phone in work and at home, we might be using the same device in work and at home, well then you have that creep of, maybe you're using the same passwords. A lot of people do use the same passwords. They shouldn't, but they do.
Just on that, I think one of the best phrases I've ever heard is, passwords are like your underwear. Change them regularly.
But not too regularly.
Not too regularly.
So we'll put training together for your organisation. Bespoke training, delivered online, live, or on demand as well.
Super, excellent.
Whatever you want. Get
Jan,
me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I implore everybody, as I said, Jen is a lecturer with UCD Professional Academy and obviously the founder of the Fortify Institute. I can vouch for her because Jan is actually my lecturer when I done my cybersecurity diploma with UCD. So Jan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tristan.
Hi, Podrick.
Thank you so much for coming over and joining us from the UK.
No problem.
Always welcome. Director of Channel Sales for the UK and Ireland, right? SonicWall, again, tier 1 brand used by most SMEs and enterprise organisations within Ireland. It's something that even if people aren't aware of cybersecurity, they'll have heard of the brand name. They'll have it sitting in their location, and it's protecting most businesses in Ireland as we speak. One of the great things in relation to SonicWall as a provider is your mid-year threat report. And I think providing insights to businesses, it's free to download, and it can be made accessible to anybody that wants it, right? But that we talk about awareness and information, being able to get a threat report from one of the world's leading brands that's, again, used by an awful lot of Irish businesses. But just some insights on the mid-year threat report for the audience, if you don't mind. Yeah,
sure, no problem at all. So I think it's worth talking about where we get the data. So if you imagine we've got millions of appliances, devices out in the world. They are basically anonymous sensors. So they provide information back to our threat lab that's based in the US. And twice a year, we produce a report that highlights the types of threats that we're seeing through our lab. And then that helps organizations like yourselves in Ireland build a plan around what you should be doing from a cybersecurity standpoint for the next 12, 18, 24 months and building out a strategy. We've seen over the last 6 months, so it's obviously a mid-year report, an increase in ransomware. Ransomware has become very prevalent. People want your data. I think supply chain is really important as well. This is becoming more and more important. You're supplying organizations with technology, or you're supplying organizations with information. It's making sure that that supply chain is secure, and you're thinking about the impact and what happens to you if you were to get compromised, and the organizations that you work with, how they might be affected. Business email compromise, we've seen a huge increase in that. Social engineering going on, so people looking online, understanding what organizations might be doing from maybe a LinkedIn standpoint, or from from Facebook or from Twitter, and then taking that information and building targeted campaigns to target individuals within that organization, that they know that those individuals, if they receive an email, it may be relating to something that they may be working on or something that they may be doing at that time. So that's very important. Encrypted traffic, so we've seen a very big rise in encrypted threats, so in making sure that you've got layers of defense in place to combat that as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a great resource. If you haven't already seen it or you'd like a copy of it, speak to Podrick and the team. It's very good at helping you build out your cybersecurity strategy for the short and long term.
Super. No, I appreciate that, Tristan. And just, I suppose, from my point of view, it's not tech heavy. It's a business document. It's very easy to navigate, easy to read, and it provides some valuable insights. We're talking about threats and threats evolving, and I think, again, you can see the synergies in the flow, and that will continue through the panel discussion, right? So we're talking about awareness and about layers of security and that type of stuff. So we've talked about the business and the people. We're talking about the technology now and the threat landscape. So when you look at the likes of the new cybersecurity threats that are emerging, that SonicWall is, on the verge of, being up to speed with, and that's a really real, I suppose, badge of honor for yourselves against other vendors in your space, right? But what SonicWall products and solutions have come out to mitigate recent risk? Can you give us a flavour?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think our portfolio, I've been with the business now 8 years, our portfolio has changed massively, purely because everybody's working differently now. Off the back of COVID, more and more people are hybrid working. They're not sitting behind a firewall anymore. They're not just protected and sitting in an office. they're working remotely, so they haven't got that comfort. So we've brought out endpoint protection products that will posture check a device. So are you the user? Are you accessing data that you should be accessing? Are you running the latest antivirus? Are you, depending on the role that you do in your job, only being allowed to access to certain parts of the network? And making sure that device is up to date. It's all very important. More and more people are using the cloud now, Office 365, so complementary tools around protecting your Office 365 instance. Podrick talks about it a minute ago, but tools that allow, if Podrick is based in Ireland and he logs into his device, but then 5 minutes later, someone's trying to use his credentials to log in from China, for example, technologies that are going to stop that. Secure wireless as well. Wireless has become a commodity. Really now, everywhere has wireless, but it's got to be secure. You've got to know that when you're on it, your data's not going to be compromised. You're not going to be compromised as well. So yeah, I mean, our portfolio has changed massively to deal with the fact that not everybody's sitting in an office anymore. They're more hybrid working, so we've had to complement that with other technologies.
Oh, super. And again, SonicWall has a long-standing a commitment to Ireland and to Irish SMEs. Is there anything that SonicWall as an organisation can do to basically provide a benchmark on the cybersecurity threat landscape within a specific organisation, or to actually benchmark their cyber resilience against these threats?
Yeah, I think we've got a number of tools, and again, I would reach out to the team at EVAD to make use of them. But organisations every day feel that they're running the latest, they're protected. We offer a service where we would deploy one of our SonicWall firewalls behind their existing device in a watch mode, and for 30 days, we'd basically see everything that passed through. We wouldn't impact that traffic, but at the end of that 30 days or 28 days, however you want to run it for, we can build out a very detailed report that highlights where your risk might be. And it's really important because I think, IT savvy people get the threat. Business owners probably need to understand it a bit more. And this is a very simple document that will help you build a business case and a justification as to why you need to be upskilling or moving to protecting yourselves more. If I look at Office 365, for example, we've got a tool that you can deploy for 28 days, and it would show your risk around your Office 365 environment, where you could be being compromised, where people may be getting in that you're not aware of. And again, it's there in a monitor mode, so it's not going to impact any traffic. But again, at the same time, it's going to help you build a justification and a case as to why you should be skilling up or adding more layers, because it's all about layers now. One point product, it goes for everybody, I'm sure, on the panel. One point product is not going to protect you. You have to have a layered approach.
No, absolutely, and again, appreciate the insight. So we're talking about SonicWall as a leading technology brand, but from a business point of view, what's on offer to SMEs in relation to a tier 1 international cybersecurity appliance and software company is basically saying, we'll come in and we'll audit your on-premise infrastructure. We'll provide the benchmark of where you need to be, and that's going to lead us into Kevin in a moment. But the cybersecurity insurance reports, you can't fill them out because you don't have the detail, because most organizations don't know where they are in relation to that cybersecurity mitigation, I suppose, landscape or strategy. So these are, again, an awful lot of tools being offered by a tier 1 vendor. The advice would be leverage them for your business to give you the information you need to make educated decisions on what's best for you moving forward. So Tristan, thank you very much.
No problem.
To the bravest man. Okay, Kevin, cybersecurity insurance.
Yeah.
Again, I've been on this, and I think just in relation to cybersecurity insurance, right? Obviously, cybersecurity insurance is something new for an awful lot of organizations. Now, my uneducated kind of, I suppose, framing on this is that banks typically could not underwrite the losses in relation to cyber threats anymore for their clients, and basically said, we're not doing it anymore. And obviously then it had to be underwritten and delivered in another way, which is the cybersecurity insurance piece, right? So what I'm trying to understand is, obviously we've gone through COVID-19, we're out the other side, we've seen cybercrime increase. Does that correspond with an increase in cybersecurity insurance for businesses?
Yeah, a lot of businesses, Irish businesses, are actually buying the insurance now because it's becoming more mandatory. But see, the main reasons for this is peace of mind for the business. to protect the business as well. Even in a lot of cases, their clients would require this type of insurance to conduct business with them.
Yeah, we're seeing that a lot.
Yeah, you've seen that a lot. So, also, interestingly enough, is becoming quite mandatory as public liability insurance across a lot of industries.
Yeah.
Even as you know, as a business owner, even an SME business owner, the amount of money you spend and invest in your business, and then one cyber attack can wipe you out financially. So it's actually really important cover to get at the moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think we've seen that again, unfortunate acts where businesses literally, due to ransomware or attacks that obviously Jam was alluding to, and Tristan from a cyber threat point of view, we're seeing an awful lot of businesses being attacked, and then it's that they can't recover from, right? And then one of the big things is we get the cybersecurity insurance form out. Again, I work in ICT. I've been doing it 22 years. Even I'm looking at this going, why are they asking me these questions? And what we're seeing is the actual questions are increasing and it's kind of pushing that, I suppose, the availability of cybersecurity insurance too far away from an awful lot of SMEs. And what's happening is it nearly becomes, I'm not that big enough to have all of this technology deployed. But if you don't have it deployed, it's obviously there's a cost associated, so your insurance premium is higher. It's basically being an N or an L driver driving a 3-litre petrol car and having just come back from a ban nearly in some instances, right? For someone that's working in, again, Associate Director, Phelan Cantwell, dealing specifically in cybersecurity, like, what advice would you give to people in relation to, number one, how best to prepare for, a cybersecurity proposal? But number two, then, as the cybersecurity threat landscape changes, the actual insurance requirements is changing. So how would what would your advice be for businesses to prepare?
Basically come down and talk to us first of all. We go through a few questions. The proposal forms are quite lengthy, so the advice we give can be quite beneficial.
So what you're saying, you'd actually work with
SMEs? Work with SMEs to large corporate firms. So we have insurers for all types of businesses in Ireland. So come to talk to us first. But the main thing is to be in partnership with a main IT partner that can install the correct technologies and the correct controls in place. And there always has to be evidence of them controls and technologies before we can actually quote or an insurer will actually look at it.
Exactly, and that's something that's changed. It used to be a case of tick a box. And that's why the premiums are going up now, because what they're saying is tick the box, but show me the evidence. And that's obviously just, the devil in the detail. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. What types of premiums are involved around cybersecurity?
Yeah, well, cybercrime has increased significantly, as you know. Ransomware has grown in severity, which has caused premiums to increase massively, especially for technology companies. However, we have a large range of insurers to choose from that we've partnered up with. That will cater for SMEs to large corporate firms, as I said. So best off coming down to us at the stand there, and we go through the pre-price form that we can do and give you an indication straight away. Or the more lengthy forms are for the technologies that are higher business companies that will need a bit more advice on it. But we can go through it and set up a meeting and go through everything with them and get a quote on the market for them. No,
absolutely brilliant. And I think one of the key points that I'm taking from this is understanding that this is it's a difficult time for a business to be trying to navigate the cybersecurity insurance. It's difficult in the sense of, them trying to fill out the forms. If they make a mistake on the form, it could affect their liability in the future, and making sure, again, from my point of view, I'm not aware in my time in cybersecurity insurance and dealing with this that any of the actual cybersecurity insurance companies would get involved in assisting the company with that kind of piece, which is key.
Definitely, they do, yeah. So just come down and talk to us and we go through it in detail, because it can be quite lengthy. No,
brilliant. And listen, really appreciate your time. I had Kevin wound up because cybersecurity insurance, and as again, you're a brave man coming in. So just to make everybody aware, Phelan Cantwell Insurance are last on the left on the way down. If you are looking at cybersecurity insurance, if you're looking at a renewal, or you want to position yourself to get the best premium possible, it's definitely worth a look. Same as car insurance, shop around, the guys are there, and they'll definitely be able to have a conversation with you. So again, thanks a million. Les.
Yes. Hello.
So, Les, again, very welcome to be here. I suppose one of the things, again, from my point of view for yourself is when we look at the likes of, again, managed print, right? So again, ETG or EVAD Technology Group are basically an amplified partner with yourselves in relation to print and so on.
Yeah.
But the way businesses conduct their business, the way businesses use the likes of devices for various things has changed. And I think HP, for me, are on the cutting edge of that change in relation to data, digital media, and that print piece. Can you talk us a bit through from a HP's perspective?
Great. So firstly, thanks very much, Pádraig. It's a pleasure to be here, obviously, in support of EVAD, who are a strategic partner for HP Ireland. Historically, they've been associated with us from a managed print service perspective. But I'd like to say that managed print service has become a commodity business in terms that it's commonplace in the market, but is quickly evolving, and print is not dead, let me tell you that, because as we've seen in COVID, obviously volumes did deplete in a lot of organizations, but they're glad to say they're returning as people return to the office. But that's digital transformation is playing a part in how that is evolving in its own right, and obviously through solutions and services from EVAD, it's helping us retain that business in a lot of corporate organizations. But I would say is that endpoint security, and I think it's already been alluded to here today, that endpoints for me are the entry into organizations' networks. They're obviously held and managed by users who, again, going back to Jan's point around education is a massive piece. So where data does reside on printers unknowingly to many people, that data that resides on printers is yours, it's your customers, and did you actually know that? So where the fact that if I knew that my doctor had a printer and he didn't know that was, my data was on that and it was taken or stolen, I'd be rather concerned about it. And it's interesting we talk about the whole idea of hybrid working, people work from home. There are many examples where we've had people hack home networks through a printer to get to someone's laptop, through a fax line, through a Wi-Fi enabled printer. There's one thing you take from today is go home and check the embedded print server of your device. So you put in the IP address of your printer, check you have a password, please. But I guess for me, managed print service over the years has become managed services because we're very comfortable in talking about security when it comes to data, devices, and documents, because the threats have evolved over the years for us. Our services have changed in that space. And interestingly enough, Pádraig will allude to this, that our conversations are not just happening with procurement or IT people, whether it be an enterprise, public sector, and most importantly, public sector. We're talking to security specialists, and they see the entry point into their environment being a printer and a laptop. You know, from a HP perspective, and again, it's a scary place sometimes to talk about security, but what I would say is that embedded in the technology within our devices, there's a level of protection that's the best in the market. We proclaim to have the most secure devices in the market, but we do have that. To complement that, we have partners like EVAD who consult with customers in terms of information security specialists who evolve that idea that you are protected at a baseline in terms of your product, but also to talk about it as a security policy across your organization is something that's a bit more strategic in the conversation. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And again, I completely agree. I think it's a case of where, you know, the print appliance, let's say, is not just a case of I want to print A4 or A3. Yeah. It's not seen as an addition to you know, the ICT infrastructure environment. What actually it ends up being is a key focal point and a key part of that ICT infrastructure. And then the features and capabilities and how that device actually integrates with other platforms, SharePoint and different things, and then the applications around that. And one of the things, again, you've mentioned, and unfortunately, I've had the unfortunate pleasure with being with the, I suppose, the Data Protection Commissioner on different things and being called in to have a look and, excuse me, and evaluate certain instances. But if your printer device is compromised, it has data. So when you're spending and looking at how to protect your data and multiple different avenues around cloud, appliances, security, and you're backing it up with cybersecurity insurance, it represents a GDPR breach, a cybersecurity breach. It has to be reported in 72 hours. And ultimately, most of the time, it's a case of where it's overlooked, and it's something that is the single point of weakness for organizations. So again, simple little checks. But you talk about security and you talk about I suppose, the HP security in relation to devices. Can you give us a bit more information on that, if that's okay?
Yeah, so within our devices, our enterprise products, we have over 250 settings, of which not all need to be checked and looked at, but there's probably about 10 to 15 of those, alluding to the point earlier on from Pádraig, that check those and turn them off. But what sort of guideline documentation do we have that we can share, which is available on the public web? So there's a checklist, NIST checklist, which gives you guidance branded from HP, and it's also independently verified that you don't have to have hundreds of printers to consider this. First, we talk about insurance. We've had a customer who is in the healthcare space, and regardless if you have one printer or thousands of devices, if it's connected and you can see it and it has the data on it, I need to have the appropriate insurance, liability insurance, to protect you and me, to make sure we protect everybody and that user data. So it's of vital importance. And in fairness, when we've seen various hacks taking place in organizations and they have been not probably communicated as being where did the hack initiate itself from. We have many examples through our security entities where they have been through printers and multifunctional devices, again, going back to your point, where they are connected, they scan to email, they scan to network folders. Think of an MFP, a multifunctional device, as like a laptop. A laptop has email, it has folder access, so do MFPs. So they're connected to your systems. You need to take care of them and making sure you actually have them locked in.
No, absolutely. And I think one of the things is that, again, from my own unfortunate experience, is that you've got an awful lot of people who have a particular role in business that have access to data. And we're talking C-levels and senior management. So we base our ICT systems on, the privileges needed to conduct the role that you have within the organization. When we start printing documents, and again, we have, secure print and release print and all of that type of stuff, but we have basically, the documents are coming down to the printer. Again, they can potentially be picked up by anybody.
Correct.
Yeah. And also then when you're actually scanning documents in, that you're going to say, I'm going to scan this into my systems, my data management systems. And then what we're doing is we're taking that very sensitive or critical piece of information away. We may shred it. We may basically, but that data can potentially still reside on that actual device for a period of time. So
indefinitely.
Indefinitely, yeah. So when we talk about the likes of, I suppose, the print piece in relation to an industry, it's basically evolved into much, much more. And we talk about Industry 1.0 and, the Industrial Revolution. And we talk about the likes of the managed print evolving into that managed service piece and how it's basically transitioned. And I suppose, what's coming next in that space? What's the HP's view in relation to what's the next step in relation to, not just the print device, but how that whole managed service and that data management piece ties in?
Yeah, so whether it be a large enterprise organization or an SMB, we have evolved our business to be very much software as a service or as a service. So in essence, the idea of having to procure a product, the idea of having to buy software or having your print hosted and managed by a company at a cost, it all becomes a fixed cost through companies like EVAD. So where the big thing for us right now is we don't talk about devices anymore because pretty much to say that people are not pretty much interested. It's about what they're printing, when they're printing, what they're scanning and where to. So it's about security, it's about sustainability, and it's digital transformation. So all those topics for me are all integrated. Sustainability, the fact that, yes, we've got a green agenda, okay, but the documents are being printed, but why are they being printed and where are they going to reside? And are they going to be left on top of the device? Or where is it being scanned to?
Yes.
And is it protected or encrypted? I know we mentioned encryption earlier on, but at source, when you send a print job to a HP device, there's a level of encryption associated with that job. So there's a level of protection. It cannot be intercepted. And when it resides on the device, it cannot be intercepted or checked. If it is, our devices within their firmware, basically the software that sits on the product, gives you a level of protection to say, if someone attempts to plug a USB key into a printer, and it happens, kids do it, customers do it, it will automatically reboot saying, we feel there's something going on here. It may alert the system or it will do something automatically. It will wipe the device, it will put a fresh version of firmware onto the device, so you're reassured up to a certain point that you are protected. Nothing's ever 100%. But yeah, it's an interesting time. I personally feel I've been involved in business for a number of years. We're talking to different organizations, different individuals and sectors. So it's definitely evolving, and long may that continue.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we're just running a little bit over, so we're going to wrap it up there now. I suppose what we tried to do today is, basically not scaremonger with the cybersecurity and throw everything at you, but try and give you some insights to be able to protect your organization and yourselves personally. The big thing for us is, again, we're going to be around for the rest of the day. Hopefully you found it a worthwhile exercise. And I think like all of these kind of like talks and panel discussions, if you take a couple of insights back that actually help you protect your business, give you a better understanding, then it's been a worthwhile exercise for me, and I hope it's been a worthwhile exercise for yourselves. Okay, I just like to thank my panel. So again, super, again, Jan, I suppose from an education point of view, and again, education and awareness, the Fortify Institute. So Jan Carroll, everybody. Tristan, again, tier 1 industry leader in relation to fire security, firewall security, and networking appliances. And as I said, leverage the actual availability of SonicWall as a tier 1 global vendor. Their investments in their technology and that being delivered to you in relation to an audit is absolutely crucial to get a benchmark on where you are. Again, Tristan, thank you so much for taking the time. The hardest man to get on the stage, Kevin. So, yeah, cybersecurity risk and mitigation, and we're talking about the likes of cyber insurance. It's a topic that, you know, everybody needs to understand and discuss. So again, appreciate your insights and your commitment to help everybody. So thanks for joining us. And Les, always a pleasure. Again, from the, I suppose, the technology roadmap that we've seen over the last number of years around HP print, it's not just a print device, it's not just an appliance, it's an embedded part of your ICT infrastructure. It is a potential risk. HP are working tirelessly to be able to implement all of the actual technologies as things move forward. They are a market leader and way ahead of any other devices that we see on the network, and again, the most secure devices. So again, appreciate your time and thanks for joining us. Again, from my point of view, my name is Padraig. Really appreciate everyone's time. And what I'll do is I'll hand back over to Ruth now and continue. So best of luck with the expo. Thank you.